Hey all, Scott here from Art of the Genre, and today I'm going to talk about SF-0, which is the Star Frontiers module, Crash on Volturnus, which actually came with the original Alpha Dawn box set. This was a request video, so hopefully you enjoy it. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Star Frontiers, and this is a funny one. So I'll just start, going over it, and we'll talk a little bit about this module, what it was supposed to do, why it was included in the Alpha Dawn box set, and if it does what it is supposed to do, which I do not think it does. But let's start going through it here. The first thing you see is something that I don't like. This is that the cover of the module itself is actually a ship map. And they tell you when you start going through it that you're supposed to, I guess, give this map. It's a little bigger, obviously, than you see on the screen, but it's just a flat map. It doesn't give you any kind of texture on how a ship should actually be laid out as Starship. It's just one level. You're supposed to give the map to the players and let them familiarize themselves with it. I'm sure the players initially are thinking, why do I need to do that? But nevertheless, this is the cover. So it didn't have one of the standard covers that we all grew to love in the 80s that you'll see in every other Star Frontiers module or any D&D module or anything like that. So that is basically what you're getting with that. And then on the interior of it, it actually gives you a really nice interior layout map of topographically of Volturnus itself. The map is initially kind of difficult to read. One of the things that you look at with this map is it's got you can see down at the bottom, it's got all these color-coded things, and it's very difficult to kind of figure out the variance in color because there's like green and then there's light green. You're like, is that light green or is that light? And especially bad with like the browns. There's like salt flats. They're a little off yellow versus the yellow desert. There are a lot of little icons here, and you're struggling to figure out exactly what the icons are. And then there's things that are like black is ruins, and I'm like, well, I'm looking around at the map, like trying to find exactly what, or a big ruin or something. I think it's up here in the northwest section of brown. There's like just a black, I don't know, a polyhedral. Octagon there. And I guess that's what they're talking about with it. And then there's some tunnels, and the tunnels within the book are supposed to take days to get through. But they look much shorter than that in this. So it takes a lot of studying. If you study it a long time, you can probably make sense of it a little more. But the one thing it does right, it gives an extensive view of a planetary surface that you're going to have to kind of navigate through the course of the module. And the module itself, remember, this is an introduction to Star Frontier. So this came in the Alpha Dawn box set. It's the first adventure that probably anybody that got that set is supposed to look at. And I think the reason I got this request was somebody had recently got the box set, wanted to start some players or find some players and have them play Star Frontiers, and we're going to use this SF-0 Crash on Volturnus as the starting point, which should be a correct idea, right? It's actually not, and I'll go through it a little bit. The genesis of this module is that you're supposed to go to Truon Star, which is in the Zebulon system. If you look on the space maps, you can find that in a liner called the Serena Dawn. And that's all well and good, and you get your characters right, and then you're like, one thing you do when you get in a sci-fi setting, excuse me, versus like a D&D setting or something like that, it's like, oh, this is sci-fi, this is different. I'm gonna get myself a laser pistol, I'm gonna get myself a sonic stunner, I'm gonna get myself albedo screens and cool equipment and stuff like that. I'm so excited to play this. I'm gonna get a tangler grenade, and I'm gonna it's just all this cool stuff. And the players will sit around making their characters super excited to play something that's not D&D. And use all these new things that science fiction is supposed to make available to you. And immediately you get on the Serenadon, and the bursar, whoever, comes over and takes all your equipment other than just like the base stuff that's in your packs. So like your mechanics kit, or, a lighter or something like that. But they take all your weapons, all your armor, all your screens, and they lock it up in the weapons locker of the starship. And you're like, okay, that's fine. I'll just wait till I get to the planet, right? And then almost immediately you're in your rooms and you hear that the ship is being attacked by pirates. So you start an adventure with nothing. Not even a weapon in science fiction. So, and you have to go out and you're like, okay, we're attacked by pirates. I guess that's cool. But then you're like, walk out into a hall, and like the first pirate you fight, doesn't have any weapon. He's just got fists. And you're like, what? Is this science fiction? Now I'm in a fist fight. And of course, fist fighting is really kind of clunky in Star Frontier. So that's no fun. And then you run into some others, and they've got like clubs, bull whips. It's like, what? These guys just took over a starship in the Zebulon system, and they've got bullwhips, not electronic, laser whips. No, it's a bullwhip or a club. And you're just like, one of them's got an axe somewhere, and you're like, am I playing D&D? Because that's what this seems like. And then the only thing that the characters can do is kind of fight around with some of these pirates. A couple of them have, weapons. But at the end game, maybe you pick up, a sonic stunner or something, and then you basically have to get to the lifeboats to get off the ship. And as soon as you do, the ship kind of blows up, and you see that from space. And then you're like, okay, I'm not sure why I had to get to that, but it's shoehorning you into it. So even if you like take the bridge or you do a lot of really cool things, the ship's going to blow up anyway. And when you get up there, the weapons locker has been destroyed. There are no weapons. And so you're like, yay, we did it. We took the bridge. And it's like, no, things start blowing up. The ship's going to explode. Better get to a life. And so you're like, okay, so let's go to the life raft. All my great actions didn't mean anything. And then you get to the life raft, and then the life raft is going down to the planet. But guess what? It blows up too. It malfunctions, and you get dumped in this desert. And again, you don't have crap, and you're in the middle of a desert, and you're like, okay, I've got nothing except for maybe a sonic stunner, maybe a laser pistol if I happen to get it from one of these guys. But basically I've got clubs or bullwhips or axes, and I'm sitting in the desert with no armor, nothing like that, no spaceship, no nothing. And it's like, wait, is this just a wilderness adventure in D&D? Yeah, that's basically what it is. And you're like, why am I playing Star Frontiers? I should have just played Dungeons & Dragons. But okay, let's keep going. And then you have to basically do a wilderness adventure where you're just walking through the desert, dying of thirst, until eventually on this map you can see that the crash site is right there in the middle of the desert. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's basically two like little symbols next to each other. One of them is a dried well, one of them is the spaceship. But then if you kind of fan out to both the east and west, you'll see like there's these little lines that kind of go around it. Those are you have to travel that far by yourself until you finally get the next option in the adventure, which are meeting the Ulmor. But before you go there, there's another stupid encounter here. So this is the interior cover done by Holloway, Jim Holloway. This is one of my favorite pictures ever in science fiction. I don't know why it speaks to me, but it absolutely does. You got a great representation of a Dralosite with, extending his little head up to kind of spy on this helicopter, this pirate helicopter that's looking for you. You got this guy with they each have like machetes, which are really awesome, which of course you don't have. But he's they got laser pistols. All of them got laser pistols. Good luck with that, because I don't know where you're getting those. I think there's one on the entire ship when you get down here. It's got this gorgeous Holloway 1970s, 1980s girl. Probably one of my favorite illustrations from him of a woman. Absolutely loved her. Still love her to this day. And then a great Yazarian there as well, like, gritting his teeth as you guys are hiding out from this helicopter. This helicopter is an encounter. It's going to find you at some point as you're moving across the desert. You can either hide from it, and if you do, it doesn't find you. It just passes back and forth a few times. Or if it does find you, the people in the helicopter fire on you, but in the adventure it says they can't hit you. And then they run out of ammo, and then after they run out of ammo, they drop a note. I'm not kidding here. folks. They drop a note out of a helicopter. Now think about the helicopter blades and whatever the wind is looking like, but they drop a note that says, "We know who you are. We're going to find you. We're going to kill you." Okay, great. And then they fly away. So that's just an absolute useless encounter. And if for some reason you did have those laser pistols and you take down the helicopter, congratulations, it doesn't get you anything anyway. You're not even supposed to be able to do that. You probably can't hit it either. And then they can't hit. So it's just wasting ammo, basically. Great picture for a stupid encounter. And eventually, you will, end up finding the Ulmore. This is a great picture by Easley, and he does a great picture for one of the other modules in the series. Now, when I'm busting on SF-0 Crash on Volturnus, I'm not busting on the entire Volturnus series. I think it can be used very effectively, but this one, as an introductory to Star Frontiers, is terrible, folks. Anyway, you find these Ulmore, which are kind of squids that ride on lizards, bipedal lizards there, these mounts. And they will kind of accept the characters and take them out of the desert, giving you water or whatever. And then eventually they decide that they have to go into these caverns. And you're in the caverns for 2 days, 2 12-hour cycles is what they call them. And then you get an avalanche or a collapse somehow happens and cuts you off from your Ulmore guides. I don't know why. They're just going to shoehorn you into something, getting rid of your Ulmore guides who are trying to take you to do a ritual with them, and get you to some kind of safety. And then you have to go through a series of caverns until you finally find your way out. Now, again, what are we looking at here? You have next to nothing. And you are going through caverns / dungeons and encounters where you get crystal caverns on fire and stuff like that. And it's got a lot of really cool things that you can run into, creatures and stuff like that. But again, you're moving through an underground labyrinth with basically non-modern weapons and no armor. What's that called? It's called D&D, folks. So you just did D&D again in a very poor representation of what D&D offers. Honestly, you don't want to do D&D Star Frontiers because it's not built for that. And then finally, if you do get out of the end of this, you come to the final stage, which is like the Epsilon stage of the module. Again, it's an intro module, so it's not particularly long. And this is where you, to become a member of the Ulmore tribe, only men can do that, P.S., by the way. They become warriors of the tribe. You have to fight something called a quick death. This is a Holloway. It's actually a really poor representation, in my opinion, of a quick death. There's actually a much better version if you look later in Volturnus. This looks more like some kind of weird lizard creature, and that's not what the quick death is, at least in the representations that I've seen. But nevertheless, the party can use whatever weapons they have, however many they want to, and find a way to kill this quick death and become members or warriors within the Ulmore tribe. Great. Now you can see this is a cool Holloway drawing as well. A lot of action going on in this piece, as you can see them trying their damnedest to kill this quick death as it is attacking these little fake men, because when it attacks, it has to pull its eyes in so it can't see when it attacks, kind of like a shark rolling its eyes back in its head before it attacks. So it can attack these little straw mannequins that they put out to kind of help you in your fight as they cheer you on. And then after you do it, that's the end of the adventure. Every section, you get like 1 to 3 experience points. So you can get little experience points as you go through it. That's fine. It's just the point being, this module is terrible to teach you Star Frontiers. It teaches you nothing about Star Frontiers, really, or about a space game. It just basically takes a space game, strips everything out of it, and makes it a Dungeons & Dragons game with a lot less potential, because you don't have like plate mail armor and long swords and spells, and you don't have any of that stuff. You're just like wandering around with an axe and no armor in a game that's not really designed for that. So you couldn't have picked a worse adventure to put in the Alpha Dawn set, in my opinion. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible to teach somebody Star Frontiers. I highly say do not do it. Whatever you do, do not do this adventure. It's no good. No moss. Anyway, but that's what I have to say about this one. Again, if I went through and I did the entire Volturnus series, there's a lot more to that. That can be a lot of fun. And if I was going to run Volturnus as a series, I would do it with more experienced characters who have already had a feel for Star Frontiers and wouldn't be so disappointed that they took all their time to make characters with cool things and then not be able to use them. That's what Volturnus is about. And the two end modules are actually pretty good. On the whole, it's a good series. It's just a terrible series to start Star Frontiers with. So that's my review on this one. And it's more of a review than how I played it, because I can't even really give you options to play it other than if you wanted to bump up the power of the pirates. And then allow the characters to have their weapons and then be able to get the heck out of there because they're overpowered by the pirates and they just want to get off the ship, but they can get off with their weapons. That would add a lot to it. Just don't take everything away from them. And then the basic encounters can be, all right as well. And the encounter with the helicopter could mean a lot more. You could actually have a fight there, technologically speaking, before then you get into the caves and do a delve. Because the Ulmore and the quick death fight, they're kind of cool, and there are some cool things to go into. I mean, there's a robot in the caves, and there's an old pirate down there who's kind of crazy. There are some cool things down there, so don't forget that. But if you are running it, don't take things away from the characters if they're just starting to play Star Frontiers. It's not going to unbalance your adventure to any fantastic amount to let the people have laser pistols or an albedo screen or something like that, and or a vibro knife or something cool. Let them have it, because this is about introducing them to Star Frontiers. They need those items to feel like that they're a part of a science fiction adventure, not just another delve. So that would be my suggestion. And then if you do that correctly, you can go on to the other two Volturnus modules, which are excellent. And then you kind of get it. It's still going to be a wilderness adventure instead of out in space, which I don't know is the best way to start Star Frontiers. But Star Frontiers in its genesis is basically going and exploring planets. So it is kind of D&D-esque. But nevertheless, don't take the crap away. Let them have it. It's not going to unbalance your adventure. And it might make this more playable and more fun. And then if you do go into the other adventures, I think people will have more fun with that. But nevertheless, those are my suggestions for this module and my kind of review of this module. Hope you enjoyed it today. And otherwise, as always, great gaming.